Ladies and gentlemen, we all enjoy consuming content. If we didn't, you wouldn't have clicked on a video about chess. And if you didn't know this video is about chess, well, it's about chess, but it's going to be a lot better than any negative stereotypes you have about the game of chess. Now, most content creators, most channels are run by a person, a face, in this case, my face. But sometimes you get an iconic sibling duo, and they run the channel together. Very famous one that I will be covering today is one where the older sibling has a bunch of different ventures going on, and the younger one is most recently a boxer. Of course, I'm speaking about Logan and Jake Paul. No, I'm not. They don't play chess. Yet. Gentlemen, you should probably give chess a shot. It's wonderful. I'm speaking about a different version of Logan and Jake Paul, and that version is Alexandra Botez and Andrea Botez. Iconic duo. Both doing different things in poker, DJing, boxing, but they still do play chess. And they recently played against each other in a competitive event. Alexandra won that game. So now, it's time for revenge. You see, Alexandra decided to host the chess tournament. It's somewhere in California in some beautiful mansion. It actually is potentially inspiring me to run my own chess tournament with a bunch of handsome, muscular, titled players. And maybe we'll do a car wash or play soccer or football. Sorry. Now, the two of them played against each other in this tournament. And in the previous game that they played, Andrea had the white pieces. She went on some sort of weird attack, and then it didn't work out. Now Alexandra's got the white pieces. Let's see who will reign supreme. This is almost as good as Jake Paul versus Logan Paul in boxing. Alexandra opened the game with e4. Now, I could have sworn Alexandra was a d4c4 player. Could have sworn. I don't think Alexandra plays e4. If she does, I apologize, but I am fairly certain she played e4 because Andrea literally, and I probably said this in the last video, and I know we have this half real, half fake internet thing going on where I have a beef with Andrea. I'm not trying to insult her. She literally knows two openings, and she just plays them all the time. It's like a person who runs the same DPS in Overwatch. They just play the same character. I don't know how it doesn't get boring. She plays Sicilian, and she plays King's Indian, and with white she just plays the London. So she plays the Sicilian. You know, if Andrea had prepared the Caro Khan, for example, Alexandra would have been bewildered. But she played this. And we have c3, right? The Alpine Sicilian, very good opening. Black plays d5, pawn takes, queen takes. One of the main lines. The other main line is to play knight f6 and put the knight here. Also reasonable, but you play it like this. Now we have d4. This has clearly all been played before. Pawn to d4. And now black just generally chooses which way to develop. Now, she played g6. I have a feeling Alexandra knew this was going to happen because probably Andrea plays like this a lot. You can also play knight f6 and knight c6. g6 is an extremely committal move because you don't actually know if you want to put the bishop on g7 in many positions, but of course it's just equal. White plays knight f3. We have bishop g7. Kind of confused why you would spend a minute and a half on bishop g7 when you just play g6, but maybe she was looking at a couple of other things. And I was really surprised here when white took on c5. I've never seen this before. But the point is that, black has to move the queen again. Black could, of course, ruin white's right to castle, but then how are you ever winning your pawn back? For example, if you play knight a6, I will probably just take the knight. And the reason is you have damaged structure, and now you will just straight up never win the pawn back. I will play here, here, and b4, and you are just the pawn down. Which is why she played queen c5. She spent a few minutes. And white played bishop 2e3, attacking the queen. So now the queen has to go back. And this position is equal. Black has equalized. Black traded a d and a c pawn for a d and an e pawn. So obviously that was pretty good. Black now has more center pawns. And if I'm playing with white here, I'm probably going to play here and finish my development. I might play knight a3 with knight b5 ideas. And if my opponent goes here, I may try to sneak in over here, and then I will still play bishop e2 and castle. Alexander here plays queen b3. I don't think this move is bad, but it is very committal. And I think just in general, it's a good philosophy, like to follow the rules, like develop your knight and bishop before committing your queen. You would love to go here as well. You would love to do this, but your opponent is not going to allow that. So now black should play knight c6, knight f6, castle, and life is good. You probably don't need to do bishop e6, but it's still a perfectly reasonable move. Now bishop b5 check. Both of these moves are completely reasonable. Knight d7, fine. And queen a4 puts some pressure on this. Now, to be honest with you, there really is no pressure. The only thing that you're worried about here with black, you got to think about which of my pieces are misplaced. And that's why I would have not gone bishop e6, because you're going to have to move the bishop again. Now, I don't hate this move, knight f6. I think Andrea has done a great job. She has even a slightly better position from the opening. Castles and castles. Now, white could already begin chasing, the knight around. But rather, the knight chasing the bishop, but the bishop just goes here. You have to defend your pawn, and then black can even play h6. And I mean, you are in real trouble here. This is just not a good position at all. So castles, castles, and queen h4. So we had queen b3, queen a4, and queen h4. Not good. I mean, you can't have 25% of your early moves with the queen with no threats. I get it. She's trying to play bishop h6. Overall, the idea makes some sense. And the advantage here, according to the computer for black, it's very mercurial. Is that a word? Hey Siri, define mercurial. Sudden or unpredictable changes of mood or mind. No, that's not what I meant. I thought that meant like mysterious and very unclear. Okay, whatever. It's a cool word. I used it. I should have just kept going, and I would have looked really smart. And then I would have had like the linguistics major write a comment, because sometimes I see the comments from some of you who say things such as, you say the word like too much. I counted it this many times in the video. And I'm like, y'all need a hobby, like for real. So queen h4 played. Advantage for black is mysterious, if you will. The computer wants a6, and then it wants rook d8. And then if bishop h6, it thinks that there's zero attack. Like, oh, I said it again. It thinks there's no attack at all, and life is good. Andrea here believes her big sister. And this is the problem with playing your older sibling. You kind of trust them if they tell you certain things sometimes. So she plays h5. This move on its own is probably not a mistake. She's trying to not ever allow bishop h6. But it's an overreaction. And sometimes in chess, you have to just think, is my opponent's plan worth stopping? Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's actually not. Sometimes you can just make improving moves, and like a mouse to cheese, they will go, and then boom. And there's actually nothing there. But okay, h5, fine. I'm not a huge fan of allowing the dark squares to be occupied, but it is what it is. Now knight bd2, both sides have finished their development. Now how do you win a chess game, okay? I mean, we got many of you watching still this far in the video. I think average view time of this video will be like 10, 11 minutes. So a lot of you are still here. Give yourselves a pat on the back. You don't have crazy lack of attention span. How do you win a chess game? I mean, we all struggle at this. I struggle at this. They struggle at this. You struggle at this. Magnus struggles at this once every 50 games. Where's the plan? Well, you got to look at how will I improve my pieces and how will I improve my pawns. White does not have a lot of pawn play. White's not going to be pushing a lot of pawns. Black might. So now it's about pieces. I mean, for example, can you play knight d5 and trade? Yeah, but if you do that, then white will go here. Okay, then maybe black will go here. Yeah, but then maybe knight g5. Well, the bishop can move. Yeah, but then maybe I'm going to put pressure. So it's a lot of question marks. Andrea plays bishop d5. Reasonable. h3 from Alexandra. I like this move because she has a million options here, and they're all kind of fine. So she plays here, make sure there's no back rank mates ever. And now black plays e5. And sort of this sort of itch, thinking, I need to take space. I need more things in the center, you know. I get why she played e5. Again, I'm not really too worried that the evaluation is 0.3. The computer wanted her to go knight c5. I can't really explain the move knight c5 to you. I think e5 is a completely reasonable move. Alexandra played rook fd1. That move I don't understand. But I have a feeling she did not want to play rook ad1 because she was worried that the a2 pawn is hanging. It's not, though, because you can trap the bishop. I know it looks a bit crazy, like the queen can get in, but no, the queen rotates and the bishop simply dies. Rook fd1, you got to be careful because where's this rook going, right? That sort of becomes the question, because now you're going to have to probably move the rooks around a little bit more. But again, is there anything like crazy wrong with rook fd1? No, absolutely not. If I'm playing white here, I'll probably go rook e1. Gonna be some crazy, I'll probably play rook e1. e4 is never a thing because you got to be careful because knights can just zigzag and immediately target. By the way, now you don't have the move h6 because you played h5, right? So rook d1, a6, bishop e2, very good. And now rook e8. So far, so good. Very tense game. Very tense game. A lot of open space, a lot of pawn play, a lot of piece play. And we have knight b3. Good time management as well by both players, keeping it around 40 minutes. Knight b3. Now, I think I would bring a second rook to the party here. I think that's what I'm looking for. I don't think there's anything particularly wrong with rook d8. I don't think there's anything wrong with rook c8, although it doesn't actually have a threat. I also may move the bishop out of the way. And my point is I want to make that trade. So I want to put the knight there, and also maybe I want to go over here. Not right away. I don't want to do that right away, but just in the future. She plays b5. I mean, I can't hate on the move b5. Also reasonable, taking space. Very equal game. Very equal game. Very tense. You'll notice Alexandra has almost no pieces past her third rank, except the queen. So very passive position for white, compared to black, who is a bit more active. Now, again, you can put the bishop back, put the knight in the middle, make some nice trades. Rook d2. Yeah, Alexandra's just slightly worse. I mean, she really is. You can now justify b5 and play bishop c4, then play knight d5, then bring another rook, then maybe slowly work on kicking the queen out. I mean, really, white does not have much, if anything. Now, Andrea goes back to c6. Fine. And now rook d1, so now the rooks do get both on the d file. White has sort of made as many improving moves as possible. And again, I think Andrea needs to bring her rook. She needs to fight for her own equity on the d-file. She's sort of playing without a piece. Maybe she's holding out hope for a5. Even that might be an interesting idea. Point being, you're trying to play a4. Not only are you trying to play a4, you're trying to play a3. Knight c5 simply loses. Oops, and queen c5, and the rook is protected, so you get two pieces for the rook. If bishop f3. Now here she plays this move, bishop f8. And the early makings of some problems begin for the black position. This is an incorrect plan. She wants to remove the queen. However, I think the amount of time you invest and the ultimate result of the position is not going to be that good for black, as white will get the queen away, and then the black bishop is misplaced. So again, it's like one of those things. Your opponent is going for a plan. Do you stop their plan? We have knight to g5. And again, you cannot play h6, right? Because you already played h5. Be very careful moving your kingside pawns 2 squares. Knight g5, now we're going to hang out. Now the bishop comes to e7. Very tense, by the way. 25 minutes per player. Very close. She plays queen g3. She unpins herself. Again, you don't have a knight move. You don't have a pawn move. So now the queen is pinning the pawn to the queen, and you have ideas over here. Very vague ideas. You don't have knight f7, but you do maybe have moves like knight e6 in the future, and there are universes in which black can get mated, so you have to be careful. Finally, Andrea plays rook c8, so she has gotten her rook in the game. Now we have this nice move, pawn to f3 from Alexandra. The computer hates it, but she's trying to control some key squares. The computer already wants this, and hello, do you see these problems, right? Do you see these problems already happening? Because black weakened their king. They weakened their king by moving the pawn. They weakened the king by moving the bishop away. So this is what we're looking for. And e4, you can actually zip in, kick the queen away, bishop c2, and now we have a lot of pressure on the position. She plays f3. Now bishop 8 apparently is a good move, but I don't know who would play that. Another idea is knight f8, defending key squares near the king. She plays rook ed8. Again, I'm looking at all the stuff that's barely protected in the position. I'm looking at tactics. Queen f2 played. Super tense game. Super tense game. Not a lot of time by the players. This is a huge improvement over the last game. But you know what's going to happen in this game? There's going to be an explosion. The players are going to get low on time. There's going to be an explosive moment, and somebody's going to go down, and it is likely, in most cases, to be the player who is lower rated. So Andrea has to fight back in this game. She plays a5. There it is. She's going for it. She goes for an attack on the opposite side of the board. We've talked about this move a5. It's actually kind of annoying because if a3, I can change my plan. Maybe I even play b4, and suddenly my pieces have completely come alive. So a lot of people would look at a5 and get spooked because, uh-oh, I kind of allowed counterplay there. You start convincing yourself, well, now a4, a3 is going to weaken my structure. But Alexandra plays a really nice idea. The best way to fight on a flank attack is to strike back in the center. And the point here is that if you take this pawn, I take here attacking the queen, and your queen has to keep this protected, but it's actually really hard to do that. First of all, at the very least, I could probably win the pawn. Second of all, I can go here. And then the knight jumps to the middle, which it couldn't do when the pawn was on e5. Very nice idea, f4. Now here a4 is played. That is a very, very aggressive move from black attacking the knight. You can try here to create an attack, but you're too slow. Losing the knight is just, you're not fast enough here with the play. So a4, she takes on e5. Another very well-timed move. Your knight is hanging. You take the pawn in the center, attacking your own knight so that this can come to d4. So if knight takes e5, first of all, there's bishop b6. And if queen takes e5, now you have this move. And if the queen moves, let's say to f5, now the knight comes to d4. So a very nice way to get all the pieces this way. Super nice idea. So f4 played, a4 by black. Pawn takes e5, queen e5, the queen is now hanging. And Andrea here finds the best move for black. Counterattack into the center of the board, absolute chaos. Queen is hanging. Knight is now hit by bishop and knight and queen. Rook is hit, queen is hit. This is staring at each other, and the knight at the end of the day is still hanging. And white has 12 minutes to figure it out. Now, the good news for white is you can eliminate the thing that's attacking you over here by taking. And you know black's next move. It's actually kind of interesting. You can see through all of this chaos after knight e4 because you just take, and now they got to take with the queen, right? No choice. And now the knight comes to the center. So now white is better. White is better and up double her opponent's time, which is exactly what she was trying to accomplish. Now, black again plays the best move. In all of this chaos, she doesn't focus on saving this. This is hanging. She again finds a very nice move, bishop c5. Actually a great move, right? Pinning this to this to this so that you cannot take on b5, you cannot take on c6. So what do you do here with white? You know what I would do here with white? I would just move my king, because that stops one of the pins. And then on the next move, I would probably move my queen or my bishop and get, slowly start unwinding. The move that Alexandra plays, I think, is also reasonable. She plays bishop g5. So the queen is no longer attacking the bishop. The queen is open on f7, and the rook is hanging. So rook e8. 4 minutes to 8 minutes. And now bishop d3. And Andrea Botez is better after 30 moves against her older sister. This is crazy. What a battle. I mean, you got to give respect. 30 moves, it's been a pretty tense game. It has been a pretty tense game. And earlier, white went here and attacked the queen, and black moved the knight, counterattacking. Here, you actually should move the queen, and it's not clear how white is supposed to do anything. You may need to start retreating and acknowledging that these bishops are better than yours. Right? So bishop d3, queen d5 might have been the move. Also, queen e5 might have been the move. But she goes for counterplay. She takes the knight, and I would really generally avoid such a thing. I would not say it, unless there is an absolutely guaranteed reason to trade the bishop for the knight, I would try to avoid it. Because the bishop is so good, right? But 4 minutes, you take, and after this simple trade, it is actually white who enjoys a very comfortable advantage. And the advantage is there because The dark squares are weak. There is no attack just yet, but you're simply better. You can play queen f4, rook f2, rook f1, slowly improve your position. Instead, Alexandra plays a move which doesn't make any sense. She plays h4, which, if she was going to attack, she probably should have gone g4, but then she would get mated. So maybe king h2, like if you want to play anything, but then the bishop is hanging. So I guess she put everything together and she was like, I don't want to go queen f4, I'm going to play h4. But then she takes the sting out of this move. So I was like, what? I get it. I mean, I say it doesn't make sense, but yes, it makes sense. But look. She spent almost half her time, right? She spent 4 minutes to play the move h4. So she could have maybe gone here. She could have maybe, but it was a calculated decision. And unfortunately, Andrea could not handle the pressure in this position, could not handle the tension, felt like she was losing control of the game, and definitely a huge concession to give up the dark squared bishop. And one mistake followed the other. She thought her older sister was bluffing, but she should have known better because her older sister is a pretty successful poker player. And she took on a2. And you will have games you play in the future which it looks like in the middle of everything, your opponent just blundered a pawn. And you can take it. But I realize now, h4 must have been a form of bluff. And she got forked. But taking this pawn is a huge mistake. And it's a huge mistake for a reason that is not entirely obvious. You would think the queen left the center. Now I have a checkmate on f6, h6. No. Nope. It's a clearance sacrifice. White plays d5. And you'll notice Alexandra played that move without losing any time. And d5, whatever arrives back on that square, the rooks come alive and the bishop bulldozes the black position. And that is why losing the bishop was bad, but also this is not good. You lose the pawn, and she spots it. This seemed to have been a bluff of some sort, kind of a trap that she set for her sister. And if you don't take the pawn, then I go here. So now you don't win my pawn at all. You're losing here. You can't even defend the knight. Let's say rook c7, d6. But you probably will also get mated. I mean, I guess you can survive with king h7, so we don't have to rush. But d5, queen d5, bishop g6, mate is stopped, and the attack has, in fact, broken through. Black's position completely disintegrating. Very nice idea from Alexandra to kind of bait her opponent. She knows her sister better than anybody in the tournament. Queen to e6, bishop f5, and that's it. There is nothing you can do. The entire position falls apart. You lose a bishop, but more importantly, you will be losing your king. Rook d2, the king is safe. Every major piece that white has is on a dark square except the rook on d7 because he's trying to be different. Queen g3, you trade. Simple chess. You don't have to give a checkmate. You just got to win some pawns. There it is. And now the rooks on the 7th rank will deliver a swift and brutal execution. And if you can't find checkmate, you can always trade the rooks, but there is mate here on both sides. Bishop h6, rook b8 is a checkmate threat. There we go. King goes here, rook e8. And Andrea played 29 great moves. She was better on the 30th move. Against the player 140 points higher than her, also her sister, who she has not beaten in a classical chess game. Granted, they haven't played that many against each other. I have a feeling it meant a lot to her in this game, and she clearly played quite well. I would say she probably played like 2100 level easily. And then here, just the 1871 took over, and that happens. I mean, that happens to all of us. Like, we overperform, and then the real rating kind of comes back, or we even underperform. I guess she saw the fork. She thought she was getting to the pawn, but d5 is absolutely lethal. And one mistake, and the game is over. And series goes 2-0 of recent over-the-board games between the Botez sisters to the older sibling. Hope you enjoyed the breakdown. Alexandra's doing quite well in the tournament. Andrea, unfortunately, is not. Interesting concept for an event, by the way. Like a big mansion in California and stuff like that. And like I said, maybe I'll do the, I'll do the boys version of it. That's all I have for you today. Get out of here.